Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the third season of the SkyTemple Podcast. I am your host, Yakomon, coming to you from the east coast of Australia. That's right, the podcast is back, and hopefully we'll have a great lineup of interesting interviews for you to listen to. Episodes will be released infrequently and not to a set schedule like the other times, so make sure you subscribe to the SkyTemple Podcast channel so you can be informed of when new episodes release. My first interview is, ironically, the host for Season 2, Smingle, who was one of 3 developers of Let the Music Play. The hack won 4 awards during the most recent Hack Jam, including Best Gameplay, Best Dungeon Design, Best Debut Hack, and, most importantly of all, Best Hack Overall. And as winner of the Hack Jam, the entire dev team were offered a chance to talk about Let the Music Play, of which Smingle accepted. Let the Music Play is about a jaded monkey dory who spends his day doing nothing except drinking heavily at Spender's Juice Bar, until one day he encounters Pan-Seer and Togedemaru. Monkey Dory's telepathy reveals Togedemaru suffers from deafness and is shocked when she can hear Monkey Dory's voice, the first time she's heard a voice for potentially forever. The two begin to bond, and eventually Togedemaru asks Monkey Dory to help her understand what music is like. I had a great time playing the game, and the interview was really enjoyable to do as well. I think you'll find some interesting insights into the development of the hack. So, from the completely opposite end of the world, let's get into it. So, welcome, Smingle, to the first episode of the third season of the SkyTemple Podcast, and I think it's actually quite appropriate that you are my first interviewee, considering that you did the second series of interviews last year, and it just so happens to be like this.
It's certainly a massive coincidence, isn't it? This is for anyone who's been listening to the podcast before, this is a voice they're used to hearing, which is quite ironic. But it's very good to be here. Thank you so much for interviewing me. I'm really looking forward to this.
No worries, and let me congratulate you first up on winning the jury vote for the SkyTemple Hack Jam number 6.
Yeah, I'm extremely chuffed about that. That's I was over the moon. That was a very, very good day for me. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredibly close competition, and I'm extremely happy that I just about eked out a victory on that. But it was a great time. Thank you so much.
No worries. So, as we know, you weren't working on this hack alone. You had 2 other people to help. So, I guess, how did you get to working with your other team members? Did you know them personally, or did you meet during the Hack Jam? Like, how did you meet your other team members?
Right. So basically, I worked with 2 artists. One was Russ Nutty, who is my sister in real life, and she's a very, very, very talented animator and artist. She's actually a professional. She's an effects animator, currently working in Ireland.
Right.
But she's very talented and very cool. And the other one is Little Blue, or Yokai Hime. She was a housemate of my sister when she was living in London, who I met, and I still played D&D with very regularly. But she's also very, very talented. She's got a shop, and she sells lots of merchandise online. But basically, I just texted them, and I said, I'm going to be making a hack for a hack jam. Would you guys like to make a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon hack? And they said, sure, why not? And I was working in a team with them, and I sent them a list of things that I wanted doing, and we discussed what various ways to make it easier for them, and how to fit enough stuff in time for the scope. But yeah, I mean, neither of them own SkyTemple, and other than the art, and discussing how to get it in, they didn't really contribute to more of the game than that. They didn't do any of the dungeons. They didn't do any of the coding. They didn't do any of the narrative. Although they helped me with a tiny bits of dialogue occasionally.
Mm.
But yeah, that was their contribution. It was huge. I wouldn't have had any of the disco, wouldn't have had any of the dancing without them. So I'm hugely appreciative. And yeah, it was great working with them. They're both very very quick and professional. So that was very cool.
Yeah, I mean the level of detail in those sprites when I was playing was absolutely like I was pretty thinking like blown away at how much sprite work was able to be implemented in the hack in the 3 week period that we had. So I think kudos to them. They did a really good job.
They really did.
Yeah. Well, that was good. You actually answered my second question about what your role was, which in
Oh,
the hack jam, which in a sense you were pretty much going it alone as a solo dev, apart from
yeah,
the spriting.
yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of. Again, I wasn't a team, and I really hesitate to say I kind of did this one alone because that feels a
Yeah,
bit mean.
that makes sense.
Um, but effectively, yes, I was. It was more like a sort of commissioned artists to do some stuff
Yeah.
for me. Um, while I made the game kind of by myself.
Mm.
Sorry, I shouldn't again diminish their contribution because it was
Oh,
huge.
absolutely
It wouldn't
not.
have
I mean,
been the
it's a
same
team.
hack.
It's a
Yeah,
team effort, and yeah, absolutely. You three all deserve equal praise for what you've came up
absolutely.
with, especially. Um, yeah, it takes a village. I think. I don't know if that is a right analogy, but I'm going to use it.
Well, yeah, we don't hear it much over across the pond, but absolutely. It definitely is a team effort, and I wouldn't be here where I am now doing this interview without them. So that's what matters in the end.
Indeed, indeed. So I guess the big question about Let the Music Play is, and I said in the introduction what it's about, was that the main character, well, one of the main characters that you control is a deaf Pokemon, and the story really revolves around. Uh, Now I can't pronounce it, so forgive me, anyone who plays Sun Moon Beyond. To, oh God, I'm reading it now. I can't read it.
uh,
Togedemaru, is it?
yeah, Togedemaru.
Takadamaru, yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was looking at it, and the pressure of the interview just got to me. um, so yeah,
no worries.
their whole journey was really as a deaf Pokemon, they can't they struggle to do dungeon exploration and well they'll well without assistance and also
Yeah.
then as part of the whole hack they go on she goes on a journey to discover music. But where did the idea of making a hack involving a deaf Pokemon come from, considering you make it very clear in the hack uh, repository that you and neither of your team members have deafness as a disability. So how were you able to write a story about that, considering you didn't have that lived experience?
Well, I um I did a sign language course um several years ago. It was kind of just like an idle curiosity back then. I had some free time and a friend was coming over for like a week, and so we did like a week sign language course, just sort of out of interest and to add to our resume or whatever it is. But I really got into it. It was only like the most basic level possible. Um, and we it's been such a long time now that I can't really remember most of what I learned. I can finger spell, and I know how to introduce myself and tell people that I don't know enough sign language to continue. But um, yeah, it was a really interesting course, and I've retained a little bit of it since then. But I just found it really super interesting, and I learned so much about things I'd never even considered. And that sort of just stuck with me. And then fast forward several years, and I'm just idly thinking of different story ideas. And one thing that struck me was, what if a real life, hard of hearing or completely deaf person met a person who was able to do telepathy? Just thinking about that idea was like enough to, you know, send me down spirals of kind of thinking of more story ideas for that, because how wonderful would that be? How wonderful would it be for a person who can't hear or properly to suddenly be able to hear in perfect clarity and be able to hear someone's voice or hear any sound, thanks to this other person? I just thought that would be a wonderful story idea. Um, so I was sort of desperately looking for ways to include that in something I was doing, but that was like maybe half a year or maybe a year before Hack Jam started,
Mhm.
and so I was looking for ways to kind of make it into something that works, but I wasn't really able to do so. Um, and but then Hack Jam started, and I was able to, uh, thanks to the Mars Realities prompt, and really knuckling down on trying to come up with a solid story idea, I was able to marry that idea to something that helped give the game some flow. Uh, but I was very, very happy. I was very happy to be like, yes, okay, this will work. I can do this. Um, and so it just rolled on from there. I gained momentum, and I was very, very happy to be able to do it, because I think it's wonderful to have that representation, and be able to execute it in a way that, so far at least, I've not gotten any complaints, which made me very, very happy.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, that
Mm.
was that.
Yeah. And was there any consideration to the choice of Pokemon, and in terms of who would be the deaf Pokemon?
Oh, oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. My process for choosing Pokemon for each role is rigorous. You would not believe. So for Togedemaru, there were so many things. One, I wanted a Pokemon that was cute. I really wanted to try to avoid them being like obviously too feminine, because there's just a little bit of, oh, you're making the sort of weaker sort of deaf character a girl, or I make them too feminine.
Mm,
Something I didn't really like that,
mm,
but I wanted them to be cute at least, and I also wanted them to be yellow. That was one thing, just because the main trio of Monkey Dory, Togedemaru, and Pansear, I wanted them to have good color coordination,
mm,
basically.
mm.
So I wanted her to be yellow, and I wanted them to have ears visibly, because there was a lot of Pokemon I could have chosen that didn't have like prominent ears, and I felt like having Pokemon that without ears just felt a bit odd.
Mm.
They need to have ears, be yellow, be cute, and be not too obviously feminine. And I also wanted them to be post Gen 4. So there's so many things. I was like raking through the Pokedex over and over again. And I did this for all three members,
Mm.
trying to find something suitable. But Togedemaru really just stuck out to me, and also because Togedemaru has, thanks to eMuffin, basically, has a full set of sprites and portraits that are really, really good. Um, and so yeah, the more I raked through the Pokedex, the more Togedemaru seemed like the perfect choice, and I am really glad I went with them in the end. Um, and so yeah, that's how that turned out.
Big shout out to eMuffin. Your love
Yeah,
of
huge
Togedemaru
shout out
has
to
come in clutch.
you
Come in
every
clutch.
single time.
No, it's all good. I might just switch to gameplay a little bit now.
Okay.
Just to switch it up. So, for those who haven't played, please play it. It's a fantastic game, but but the main gameplay is very interesting and very unlike your traditional PMD in that you control Monkey Dory, who has no natural physical attacks throughout their entire move set, and so you're essentially playing support to Togedemaru throughout, and giving them like the strength, power to moves. I know it took me a little bit of a while to get used to that and everything, but I thought it was really well done myself. Once I got the hang of it and I knew how to strategize for that. But yeah, just I guess talk to me about the gameplay. I mean, I'm not a gameplay person. I probably couldn't ask a really deep and meaningful question about it. So the floor is yours.
Okay.
Tell us about the gameplay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I really wanted there to be well, okay. First off, the gimmick of this hack jam was custom moves, and that really opened the door in terms of me trying to figure out what I wanted this gameplay to be like, because I really didn't want it to be traditional. I really didn't want it to just be Monkey Dory has some moves, and you can basically, because he's a legendary, you can basically just sweep through most of the game with him, with Togedemaru maybe using some ranged attacks, or whatever, or support or something. I really didn't want it to be that, because that's kind of just traditional PMD, and with a character being deaf, hard of hearing, they until this point at least have never really been in a dungeon before, and clearly they would have some reasons to find it difficult. I thought this needs to be different. So with the custom moves, I made Good Omen and Bad Omen on Monkey Dory, and Good Omen gives whoever you're looking at Sure Shot, which makes all their moves hit, and Bad Omen gives them Protect. And that's basically, by the way, I've not noticed anyone who's able to figure out why I call them that. Good Omen is like you're seeing the future and seeing a good thing, which is them hitting. And Bad Omen is you're seeing the future and seeing them getting hit, so you're giving them Protect.
So those moves aren't in Teal Mask, are they? Because I haven't played since Gen 4, so I'm clueless.
No. Those moves do not exist.
Right.
Those are moves I made up. But they're basically just like telepathy, and Monkey Dory's innate future sight is just seeing, predicting the future and saying, okay, well, they're going to get hit now, so I'm going to give them Protect.
Yeah.
But I also gave him future sight, even though that's kind of redundant at that point, but it turned out really well for the gameplay because it gives Monkey Dory a way to do some damage, at least at the beginning, and also it has some really interesting mechanics that I didn't even know about with iron barbs on Togedemaru and sticks as well. It's a really interesting move that doesn't get much use in other hacks. But also he gets Parting Shot, which I just felt was perfect. Being able to swap places with the one behind you and also lower stats. Just seemed perfect for the style of gameplay I was doing. So yes, I basically just really wanted to make a support lead who's able to look after Togedemaru as much as possible, and then the game would just be like power scaling, power fantasy. Togedemaru levels up super quickly, and it feels great. She gets new moves like constantly, and they all feel great. You can find link boxes to make yourself feel even more powerful, and then there's gummies all over the floor, which give 2 IQ skills each.
I did read the README.
And
I made sure I took a note of that.
yeah. It just gummies have always felt like a slow grind, and I mean that it just feels a bit like it sucks kind of a little
Well, I
bit
know I've
in
talked
base
about in the
PMD in my
server
opinion.
about how you could pretty much go through the entire story right up until past Darkrai and
Yeah.
rely and ignore the mechanic. Like ignore the. I
Yeah,
know there were some
completely.
people that were absolutely gobsmacked that I always have beaten the game up to Darkrai with basically a Chimchar that's as dumb as a sack of potatoes. Maybe a
Yeah,
non-traitor
I
or
mean
something like that, and that's about it.
it's totally possible, and it's such a shame because IQ skills are so interesting and they open up gameplay in really interesting ways.
Mm.
Um, but you can just ignore them, and even if you don't ignore them, sometimes it just feels like it's not worth it because it just takes ages and ages to eat enough candy. I mean, if real life were like that, I'd be eating candy all day long and my brain would be huge. But unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that. So I really wanted gummies to feel impactful.
Mm.
So yeah, if you eat the right one with the right right Pokemon, you get 2 IQ skills
Mm.
until a certain point, and then you get 1.
Yeah.
But I just wanted them to feel good. So that really played into that power fantasy. I just really wanted the players to be like kind of weak at the beginning, kind of struggling maybe perhaps, but by the time they get to the last dungeon, last boss, you can just destroy it single-handedly with Togedemaru, and I know some people absolutely have done. Um, so yeah, that was one. Yeah, it's fun to do power fantasies, and in like short hacks like this, which don't really matter too much. I really wanted to cultivate that and let people be as powerful as they wanted, basically.
So, I guess moving back to the creation of the hack, you mentioned a little bit before about how mass realities kind of played into this idea already of Togedemaru's deafness and all that. But did the reveal of the theme or gimmick alter any sort of initial plans that you were thinking of or you were conceptualizing before starting your Hack Jam hack?
Hmm. Um, well, to be honest, when I was writing the story, I never intended for the masked reality to be Togedemaru's. I never intended for that to be um, her uncovering how reality is, because I think she doesn't really undergo character development in this. She gets stronger, and she decides to not hang out with Panseer for the dungeons and not rely on her so much. I mean, it's you can interpret it however you want. But I really intended for the Mars reality to be Monkey Dory's. I really intended it for him to be. He starts out believing that he's figured out life and that life is boring. And by the end, he's just been hit with so many, things he was never expecting that he realizes that was just him, sort of quashing his own ability to experience life, by being arrogant. So that was really kind of what I was intending. I don't really know if I conveyed that as much as I could have. I feel like the ending and perhaps the build up to the climax in Mirotopia sort of didn't really allow that to flourish as well as I could have done. But that was what I was intending. I mean, it's obviously it's perfectly fine if you want to interpret it in other ways. I'm not saying the master reality can't be Togedemaru's, because she is kind of learning about sound and music and a lot of things she wasn't able to fully experience perhaps. But I just really liked the idea of Monkey Dory being or someone being stuck in their own head, and then the master reality being something that they've inadvertently sort of self-imposed. So I like that idea. Again, I'm not really sure if I was perfect at conveying it. But sorry, go on.
I said, and that's fair. I mean, I was more. I guess I probably misinterpreted what you were saying before about when you saw Mark's rallies and were like, yes,
I see.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, well, yeah. But I will say, yeah. I mean, you asked how it changed after it was revealed, and honestly, I was kind of having trouble gluing my idea together at the beginning. There was a lot of. I mean, I could tell you how my idea evolved before I solidified it. But when it was revealed, I really went, okay. So my protagonist is going to be this how he ended up. He's going to be this arrogant sort of fool, I think, because I just found the most intriguing master reality to play with to be this one that's completely self-imposed and also really sort of like minor. This is just his personality trait that's stopping him from experiencing life to the fullest.
Yeah.
It's not some like grand illusion. It's not some conspiracy or plot. It's just a guy kind of being an idiot. And I mean, back in creative writing classes at uni, I would just do this all the time. I'd be given a prompt and I'd just twist it into something that's kind of mundane. I just like mundane stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that evolved. I mean, the again for the third time, I don't really know how well I sort of pushed it, but yeah, that's what that was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you did it enough because you ended up doing very well in the eyes of the judges and everything. So you must have done something
Yeah.
right. I will say myself, I found I found the writing really well done. The direction of the cutscenes really well done. Seeing some of these Hack Jam hacks now, I feel like, oh, I should just pack up and leave. I should just
Oh
cancel my own hack. I
no! Don't do
jest.
that. No, don't.
I
We're all
jest.
the better for you making hacks, Yako. Don't worry.
It's all good, all good. I guess this wasn't on my question list, but I was thinking about it now. So I guess tell me more about the conceptualization of the mirror cults or the mirror trio or whatever
Okay.
you want to call it. I think they're referred to in multiple different things during the game. Talk
Yeah.
to me about that.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I had this. As I mentioned before, I had this idea for what if a deaf character had met a person who was able to do telepathy, and that was sort of one idea that I wasn't really able to uh, to 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 bring to fruition, just because I felt like there wasn't anything exciting. This could be a little, cute little wholesome story,
Hmm.
but that wouldn't really work for me personally in a mystery dungeon hack, because why would they go into a dungeon? Why would they
Yeah.
why would there be any conflict or stakes? And then in that case, why would it be a mystery dungeon hack? Why wouldn't it be I don't know, a visual novel or something in a completely different medium? It could be a book or a little cute story or something. Um, so I was really struggling with like why would this turn into a mystery dungeon hack? Can I use this hack? Can I use this idea in a mystery dungeon context? Um, and then we were growing closer and closer to Hack Jam, the reveal, and I realized that this was kind of related to the art to my artists, in that I realized, like, completely separately, that you could make Pokemon dance in dungeons by having all of their idle animations face forward and then just making them all the same dancing animation. That was the original idea of,
Amazing.
like, I I could get my artists involved, making some dancing animations for dungeons for me. Could I make a disco dungeon? Yes, I could make a disco dungeon. I love Mirror B. He's a disco artist. Let's get him into a dungeon. So it was just a completely separate idea of like a train of thought of, I could make dancing Pokemon in dungeons. I could make a disco dungeon. I could have Mirror B in a disco dungeon. And then I realized, well, that's music. That is something that deaf people aren't, or hard of hearing people aren't able to experience fully.
Mm.
And then I did a bunch of research on how hard of hearing or deaf people, are able to experience music, and there was a lot of interesting stuff I learned about that, about vibrations and that sort of culture. Um, but eventually, I just decided, I think this is a good hook. So I had this deaf telepathy idea, but it didn't have a good hook. It didn't have a good excitement factor. And this Mirror B thing, Disco Dungeon, that's an excitement factor. If that isn't going to pull someone in, if the idea of like a weird disco dungeon isn't going to pull someone in, I don't know what will. So I decided that that's going to be the hook. If I'm going to make this cute, wholesome story, then I'm going to need this as as an excitement factor. So the Mirror B cults and the Mirror storyline, that was kind of just there to build conflict and stakes, because I really didn't want Togedemaru and Monkey Dory to have like a fight or an argument or something. I wanted there to be an external conflict that came in and was kind of silly, to take them on an adventure and just bring some sort of climax, even if it wasn't necessarily related to what was originally happening, other than this music thing. So I mean, I've heard different opinions on how people received that. Some people know who Mirror B is and really enjoyed it. Some people have no idea who he is and felt it was a bit contrived. And honestly, both things are completely valid, because I completely overestimated how many people knew Mirabee.
I'm lucky that I did because even though I've never played Pokemon Colosseum, my brother did. He bought a GameCube very late in its life, maybe even after the Wii came out. Like he bought a used one and all that. And
Really? Okay.
I just remember him watching him play various times and seeing the absurdity of Mirabee there
Yeah,
on the thing. So thankfully, I knew him and I knew his theme, and so
yeah,
I could make the connection there.
yeah. Well, I knew him even before I was made to play it on stream by Okami, but I knew him just because I love music and I love Pokemon, and I'm just gonna end up coming across his theme at some point anyway. And I love those themes so much before I even played Colosseum or XD.
Yeah.
And I was super happy to be able to find a way to include him because I just find him such a funny character. He is just so endearing and amusing to me. The idea of a silly Afroed idiot who isn't really a bad guy. Yes, he is. He just likes music and he just likes I guess power as well. He is an antagonist. I don't know what I'm on about. Um, I just found him so silly. I thought he was great. So the idea of putting him into a hack was really appealing to me, and I'm glad I was able to fit him in. And his sprites were really fun and silly and goofy. Um, anyway, yeah.
Awesome. No, I love it. Love it. That's pretty
Thank you.
much the one other thing I did have on my list was just I did have one comment about Panseer. Thank you for making him the butt of jokes from Monkey Dory because as we all know he is wish.com Chimchar. he is he
Yeah.
is I
You mean
find him
she?
very bland, so he deserves the bullying.
Yeah, well, Pansear was another Pokemon that I deliberated over for ages. I'm really glad I chose them in the end because Pansear, as I realized after I kind of chose them actually, Pansear is of the three monkeys the one who is supposed to be hear no evil, which ended up being really quite apt. Yeah, it just relates to the theme and a little bit of the hard of hearing sort of stuff. So I thought that was really fun. But I really enjoyed writing her. She was fun, even though she wasn't in dungeons and wasn't really there for the climax. I found it really fun to write for her because she was just a great butt for jokes and it was fun. It was fun. It was a good time.
All right. Well, Smingle, are you ready for a brand new segment on the SkyTemple podcast, which no doubt you would have seen if you were in the server. I'm gonna have a little intro music. I'm gonna put in the. I don't know what I'm gonna choose yet. Maybe I'll choose
Really?
Mirabee's theme. Maybe that'll be appropriate. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I love that. Oh yeah, I'm very ready for this section. I've been excited.
Yeah. So questions from the audience. I'll just fade this out for a second so we can have the intro music. So, looking at the questions, there were 8 responses that we got. So I reckon we could get through all of them because actually some of them were questions on my list too, and some of them we've probably already gone through, but we can acknowledge everyone with this. So let me just get them up.
I can always extrapolate on various things anyway. I can speak about this for
years. Can you extrapolate on this first one? Chessian.
Okay.
Apologies, I'm going to mispronounce people's names, and I apologize in advance. Good. You can do the bully Yakko gif in the chat if you want. I don't care. Chessian asks the question why.
Why? Oh yeah, okay. I had a feeling there'd be a couple of questions like this. I'm glad the community has not disappointed me. Why is a very good question. I don't fully know how to answer that because it's quite broad.
Yes,
but
you don't have to answer. You can we can move on.
No, I can. No, here we go. Prepare yourself. Here we go. Because
Thank you for that wonderful answer. I think that's
Yeah, you're
appropriate.
welcome.
Any complaints can be sent to Yako Mon in Australia, and I won't give you any more address because I'll do it 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. There we go. That's a real address. You can look it up on Google.
Yes. Send your complaints to smingle@myass.com. There we
go. All right. Next question. Roku Zero asks, how did you creatively make this game work?
Oh goodness. I am not like a professional writer, but I've done creative writing courses back at uni, and I learned so much from doing that. I suppose I mean I can't fully answer this question, but I learned a lot about writing back then, and I feel like the most important thing for any writer to consider, or game designer, anything to consider when they're making anything, is pacing. Pacing is absolutely the most important thing to me. Because even if you have amazing characters or an amazing plot, or it's really intriguing or anything like that, if you spend too long on any one element or too short a time on any one element, it's going to be disappointing for someone. It's going to completely derail how the story feels and how it should feel and how you're intending for it to feel. So I don't really know how to work on that. I don't really know how to get that right. But in a sort of way that I can explain, I just feel like I've apparently got the knack for it, but you have to spend the exact right amount of time on any element and any scene and anything, and you have to cut anything that feels like it's unnecessary. Which is partly why I had like narration from Monkey Dory for many scenes. Because having a scene where characters just say those words out loud instead of Monkey Dory just saying like "we did this" would have just like destroyed the pacing. It would have just slowed it down way too much. So, the number one thing I can say if you're trying to make anything work creatively is pacing is the most important thing. Even without like great characters or a great plot, if your pacing is absolutely fine, then people will find a way to enjoy it anyway. So yeah, and again, I don't really know how to put into words how to make that perfect, but just give it some thought, I guess, is all I can say. But yeah, that's how I'm going to interpret answering this question. But I hope that's useful to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. It's an audience question, so again, send your complaints. All right. Happy Lappy asks the following question: where did the idea of the dancing dungeon Pokemon come from? That was really incredible! With an exclamation mark. I think you already addressed this mostly in a previous answer.
Yeah, I did, but I'm happy to talk more about it. But because basically, I really wanted to get some spriting done in a way for the Hack Jam. I really wanted to include my artists somehow and get them to do something fun. That wouldn't be too difficult. And I was thinking about dungeons and what you can do in them in terms of spriting. And I realized that like dancing Pokemon would be really fun. Having some way for them to do something silly and would be really entertaining. But dancing would be really difficult to do because getting a Pokemon to dance when they're facing forward is fine, but getting them to dance in every of the 8 directions a Pokemon can face in a dungeon would be really difficult. So how about you just cut out the middleman there, get rid of 8 different directions, have them all face the camera. That way they can do whatever dance they want. I just, when that clicked in my brain, I just thought, oh, that's perfect. That's so easy to do. That's like an idea that is an artist's dream because you're cutting out so many different like problems for them, and letting them do something silly. So yeah, I when I contacted my Rust Nutty and Yokai, we were able to suss out. Let's go with like 3 or 4 frames per Pokemon. They all have the same frame rate, so they all dance basically in time with each other. Obviously, they for some Pokemon like Spinder and Ceruledge, they ignored some of those things, but we just had fun with it. There was a big old list. We cut down even more of them, and we just thought it'd be fun. We just thought a disco dungeon sounds like a good time, and having every Pokemon dance in it sounds even funnier. So yeah, I just thought that'd be really entertaining, and it seems like it was. I still need to make the proper GIFs for that, and maybe I'll release them. Maybe I'll get on that now after this interview, because people have requested getting those dancing animations isolated. Maybe I'll even submit them to Spritebar. That'd be fun. I don't know where people would use them, but yeah, it was just something I thought would be really entertaining, and I'm glad people enjoyed them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I must say it's one of those things where the first time you actually realize, like when the penny drops when you're in the dungeon and going, hang on a minute, these Pokemon are dancing. I think that is a like
it's a great moment. It's a great moment.
Holy crap moment. Yeah, it's
yeah. Well, I mean, again, my artists are just amazing. I love them both so much, and they're very, very talented. The disco dungeon itself, that background, I was so happy to see come out into fruition. It was the first time Yokai Hime had ever made a dungeon, and the template with all the rules for how the walls fit together and stuff like that. It's so difficult to understand. You're looking at it like it's a foreign language at first, and it's like a jigsaw in 4 dimensions. But I think it came out really well. There are a couple of walls that don't go together perfectly, but I think it came out so super well. And also Boogie Heights as well, the treetop dungeon.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with that, trying to get that in. It was also my first time putting backgrounds for dungeons into the game. So trying to figure out that nonsense was incredibly difficult. But when I figured it out, I was very happy with it, how it came out. Anyway, that wasn't related to the question. Sorry, I was just rambling.
That's all right. That's what this is about, really. It's just about getting your insights. That doesn't really. You can answer however you want. I was going to say a personal note for me on Boogie Heights is that I never encountered Hydreigon. So you need to explain to me what the big thing was with Hydreigon.
Okay, you got lucky for not encountering him. So basically, he has like a 5% encounter rate per floor.
Mm-hmm.
And he he's I think I put him at level 80,
right.
And his stats all start. If he was level 0, all of his stats would be 100. He is ludicrously overpowered. And in 1.0 he had Outrage, but I've changed that because it hits multiple times and can get rid of like 3 or 4 Reviver Seeds in one go if you're unlucky. But basically he's just like an obstacle. You can't if you can defeat him. But you have to abuse the AI and abuse Good Omen and Bad Omen and like lots of other things. You can defeat him and you get like a crap ton of EXP, but there's really no reason to. It's best to just throw like a stun seed or a slip seed and just run away because his stats are overblown on purpose. But trying to balance him was a bit difficult because if I gave him any ranged moves, he would just snipe you from across the map because he flies.
Yeah.
If he has any sort of status moves, then like he can just sort of, if he had like Swords Dance, it'd be kind of pointless. But like, then maybe he'd spend too many turns just sort of spamming that. So I just gave him 4 attacking moves that are all like one tile range. And made it pretty immediately clear that if you tried to tussle with him, you would get creamed. So I just like the idea because I'm a big fan of Etrian Odyssey. I've never completed any of them, but I'm a big fan of that series, and the foes in that. I don't know if you've played that game, but basically, there's the very very difficult enemies that wander around the floors you're on. I just like that. The idea of having something scary and being like, I need to avoid this, rather than PMD is kind of normal. Like you assume everything is about the same power level, and you can probably knock it down if you just hit them hard enough.
Mm.
Um, I like the idea of having an enemy that wasn't that. I like the idea of having one that was, oh shit, I need to go. I need to go. I need to avoid that like the plague.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
think
thought that was a
I
fun
think
idea.
a parallel for a game that I've played is Xenoblade Chronicles. How you have the open world map and you can have
Oh,
like you're in like an area full of level 10 monsters, but then like out over in the distance there's like a level 70 that you absolutely should
yeah.
not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's I didn't even think about that actually. That's a very good parallel. I've played those games and yeah, absolutely the same.
Yeah.
You know, a level 80 giant gorilla can just come over and slap you and you're like, right, oh, okay. Um yeah, no, absolutely. I just think that's fun. I think that's I mean, we saw it in Scarlet and Violet as well with like Pokemon that are just hanging around that are like level 17 and you,
Mm,
oh, okay, I have to go. I think those moments in games are always fun, so I tried to put it into this game as well.
yeah. All right. Next audience question is from Ryder. Uh, they say, "Hi, and thank you for making a great hack. Do you
Oh,
plan on making a sequel or using the same characters for a different story?"
oh, that's interesting. I I I don't think there would be a sequel. I can't think. I mean, like I said during the bit about how I came up with the Miratopia gang. They, I really didn't want there to be like a dark backstory or like a point of conflict between my protagonists. I really wanted it just to be like a wholesome friendship. And while that is nice, the problem with that is that it doesn't it's not conducive to coming up with more storylines. Um, I mean, there was only a storyline because of this external force that I was able to think of, but if for a sequel, I would need like, a reason for them to exist in the world in a world again. A reason to be like, okay, well, this warrants this story idea warrants them having another storyline. Unless I think really hard, it'd probably be just another like external conflict.
Mm.
I don't really want them to fight or anything like that. So I kind of doubt there'd be a sequel. I do like the idea of them turning up. In other in something else, maybe cameoing in something.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I didn't actually make it very clear where Panseer and Togdemaru were going back to. Um, I never specified which continent or wherever they're going. Um, I mean, honestly, if anyone is ever going to base a hack in Treasure Town in the future and wants to include them just hanging around in the background, please be my guest. I would be very happy to see them. Um, I don't personally have any plans to make a sequel or include them in anything else. I kind of like where it is, them having this contained story. Um, but yeah, if you guys want to include them, or if maybe if I make a hack in the future, which is in Treasure Town or is anywhere actually, maybe I can have them turn up and it'll be fun to see them again. But yeah, there's that's probably only going to be the only storyline I make for them.
Yeah. Next question comes from JP. Now, I think I also asked this question myself, so feel free if
Okay.
you want to elaborate, you can. But I feel like you've covered pretty much everything with this question, but I'll still acknowledge it.
Okay.
He says, when and how did you come up with the idea to feature a deaf character to such an extent in the story, and did you prepare to ensure a good representation, and if so, how much? Wait, does that count as two questions? If so, just choose the part of the question you like more. Well, thankfully for you, JP, double-barreled questions count as one question, so you get the whole
Oh, good.
question.
That's good to know for the next interview, guys. Go ahead and ask about 6 or 7 different questions for
No,
your
that
submission.
I will veto that.
Ah, damn. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have somewhat answered this. I really wanted to be as respectful as I could and as include as many things as I learnt in the sign language course as I possibly could for this for this, and again, I made it very clear when I submitted that, if there was anything at all that seemed misrepresented or sort of offensive in any way, and I didn't think there would be, and I'm really glad it hasn't been. But I was petrified of someone coming back and being like, you've really offended me, or you've really offended my friend. This is I'm so glad that didn't happen. But as I understand it, there was someone there's someone on the mod team for SkyTemple who's hard of hearing or something akin to that.
I'm not sure myself, but then I'm not always the most not always the most observant of people. So if it's been said,
okay.
Plus I'm
think,
asleep when half the mods are awake and active. So
yeah, that sounds like a skill issue. So yeah, I think I was told by 8x or so I think it was 8x.
I'm sure it'll come out once this interview comes out that someone will correct us here.
Yeah, perhaps. That someone on the mod team was hard of hearing, and that they played it and they found it perfectly respectful, and that they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Which made me that was one of the best pieces of feedback I ever got. That someone was hard of hearing and played it and enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, thank Christ! Oh, like everything. That is such a relief. But yes, I mean, if anyone's listening to this and you've not played it, and you do play it, and you do find something that's a problem, I'm still open. I'm still happy to listen to any problems that occur, and have a conversation and perhaps fix that.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I will say that I found it very respectful myself. Like, I mean, it's no different to any other piece of media that I've seen in mainstream Hollywood or whatever that includes deaf representation, and I think look, I mean, I don't want to be the judge and jury, obviously, but from my perspective, I didn't see anything. I was almost kind of preparing for, was this going to be a little bit like, because you were so careful in making that that disclaimer. I was kind of thinking, this is going to be on the nose, but no, it wasn't the case at all, at least in my opinion. I mean, admittedly, I don't have any connections to deaf or hard of hearing people either, but apart from that anonymous mod person that shall now not be anonymous after this. All right, next one is from, it was actually an anonymous one. They've written their Discord username as That's a Secret with a little smiley face, so I don't know who this person is, but They say, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that Togedemaru is very cute.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. That was something I really worked hard on. There were a lot of cutscenes which was just like Togedemaru doing something silly in the background. I really wanted to make her like endearing and kind of adorable, and I'm very happy with how it came out. I really like how she ended up doing the little dances, or bashing her head against a wall in the Spinder's Cafe.
Yes.
Or interacting with that Sandshrew in that one cutscene, who shall not be named. There was. I really wanted her to be endearing. I really wanted her to be very likable. And I mean, clearly, if someone's submitting a question just to say that she was cute, then I must have pulled that off. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
No worries. Now we have a question from Hack Jam 6 judge, Espic. How much have you learned about deafness since you worked on the project, and what do you think is the most important or interesting?
Okay. Okay, yeah. I mean, like I said, I did the sign language course, and I learned a bunch there about things I never even thought about. Like, for instance, the sign names thing. That's a real part of deaf culture that I didn't even think about. But of course, if you had to figure out a sign for your real name or spell it out every single time, it would take ages. It would really interrupt the flow of conversation. So having a quick sign for your own name, it just makes sense. And I learned a bunch of stuff like that. But since since I started making the hack, I did, like I said, I researched how deaf people experience music, and would you believe there are hard of hearing like dancers out there? There are people who've really dedicated their lives to experiencing music or helping others experience music who are hard of hearing. And that's, I mean, maybe this is bad, but that really shocked me. I was really surprised to learn that. But, the more I researched, the more it completely made sense. So, of course, that was just something I was ignorant on, but I was really glad I looked it up. And it really is it's a very, very rich culture. They've that I during the course of this hack jam, I sort of maybe only just sort of poked my toe into it, really. I could absolutely go and I'm kind of tempted to do more sign language courses and learn more and more about it, because it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. The whole sign language community and that sort of thing. As for the most important thing, I really couldn't put a finger on that. I mean, I could sit here and preach and say, they're just like us, etc. But I think that's pretty blatantly obvious. So I don't really know. I think music is wonderful, and I think the hard of hearing community is wonderful, and I was very happy to be able to somewhat marry the two in this hack. And well, I at least I did my best. So I hope that is an answer to that question, but I really couldn't pinpoint the most important thing.
No worries at all. I think that's a good enough answer.
Thank you.
All right, last question. This one is from Jai Fain.
Okay.
So, and he asks a bit of off topic. But since this is called, since the hack is called "Let the Music Play," what is your favorite band / singer?
Oh goodness. Okay. Yeah, jumping off the Pokemon track here completely. That's fine. Yeah. Well. Mike, I listen to so much music. There's only like a couple genres I can't listen to at all. But I listen to so much music. I really have been a big lover of music my whole life. I played tuba, by the way. I don't know if people know that.
I don't know if you mentioned it all before. I can't remember your podcast episodes. I remember Okami interviewing you. So technically, this is your second interview.
Oh, that was one of my favorite interviews. Being interviewed myself. Yeah, I wish that could happen again. I play tuba, and I've listened to music my whole life, and I've performed in concerts my whole life. And but goodness, my favorite artist, I would say one of my favorite artists right now, because obviously it changes. One of my favorite artists right now is Theo Katzman, but also by extension the band Vulfpeck, Vulfpeck. They're a sort of funk band. I've really been enjoying their stuff recently. They do to the point where I almost considered cosplaying. I was going to go to the London Comic Con this spring, but I didn't go in the end. I was going to go dressed as they did in one of their albums, because they all wore like a little red hat, like a sauna hat, and they like a white bathrobe and slippers for the entire album. I was going to go dressed like that and see if anyone recognized me, because I'd be immediate friends with anyone who did recognize me. But yeah, they're a funk band that I really, really enjoy, and that I really recommend if you like funk. Yeah, but yeah, I enjoy a very large range of music. Lots of video game music, classical music. I mean that was part of what made making this hack so fun, because for each dungeon, there was no original music in this game from Pokemon at all. I combed through so many different video game soundtracks trying to find the perfect song for each dungeon, each cutscene, that sort of thing. I mean, part of what made me really want to include Mirror B was I found these remixes of his themes. Who are they by again?
Actually, I've got the credits up here just in case I needed to reference them. GarageBand Pokey.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, GarageBand Pokey. I found his stuff on YouTube, and he's done remixes of a lot of things. But I really, really, really loved his Mirror B remixes. And I was gonna try to reach out to him to see if I could, get his permission to include these in the hack, but I wasn't really able to. I wasn't able to contact him, and I feel really bad about that. Like I sort of just went ahead and did it anyway, in hopes that the credits would be enough. But I just love those remixes. I thought they were wonderful, and I really wanted to include them. But yeah, the rest of the music as well, I was really happy with. I do think I used that sort of cutscene, that sort of Hawaiian sounding island cutscene music too much. When I was playing through, I realized, oh yeah, that comes up like 4 or 5 times. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but by that point it was too late.
I mean, music is thematic, right?
It.
Like you sometimes. I mean, you think about TV shows, right? Especially like animated shows that use the same soundtrack over. I mean, how many episodes of say SpongeBob SquarePants have there been, and they still use the same stock music, library music that you know.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is absolutely true. So maybe I was being too harsh on myself. I mean, back to the question, I suppose. I really love music. I'm a huge music lover. Making music. I've started making a bit of music for Infinite Labyrinth, perhaps. But choosing music for this game was so much fun. And again, if you want to listen to Wolfpack or Theo Katzman, I would really suggest it because they're fun.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much concludes my questions and the audience questions as well. But any final things that you really wanted to get out that I didn't cover or the audience didn't cover, or like what's any final comments?
Okay. I wanted to say that I've been part of the SkyTemple community for I think it's about 2.5 years now. I think I joined. I made the original demo for Infinite Labyrinth at the beginning of, I think it was 2 or 3, maybe even 3 years ago now, and then I participated in the Hack of the Year as a judge. I just wanted to say I've absolutely loved being part of this community so far. The mods are amazing. The support channel is incredible. The Sprite bot is, and the Sprite collab is one of the wonders of the world. But it's been amazing so far. I've really enjoyed being part of this, and I haven't regretted it for a second. I'm looking forward to making more. I'm looking forward to playing more stuff, and Yakko, I'm looking forward to more of your wonderful universe as well.
Thank you.
I'm looking.
That was an unsolicited comment, by the way, audience. I'm not going to bribe everyone to make comments about Darkrai's Revenge in the podcast. Don't worry, they don't have to agree to advertise. It's not a condition of the interview.
No, don't worry. You don't have to make me agree to advertise. I'll advertise for you. Guys, go play Darkrai's Revenge. Very good hack. Don't worry. And also, Yakko, you owe me $5.99. Anyway, I've really enjoyed this, being part of this, and I'm looking forward to making more. And I'm looking forward to the next Hack Jam. So bring it on for next Hack Jam, shall we? Let me issue that challenge now. I won't be able to win best debut next time, but I'll certainly pull up my sleeves for next time too.
All right, no problem. Smingle, thank you for being such a wonderful guest on the SkyTemple podcast, and looking forward to whatever you do in the future.
Yeah, I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for doing this.
No
and
worries.
what an irony it is, but again, thank you. I'm looking forward to the next interview with whoever you do it next with.
Well, stay tuned because I'm just about to reveal it right now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Before I reveal who the next interviewees are, though, I do want to point out that Yokai Hime has a link tree that you can find in the video description if you liked her work on Let the Music Play and want to see the other cool stuff she makes. As for the next interview, I will be interviewing the developers of Cynotic. It should be a great time as we could have up to 4 people at once, so watch out, it could get chaotic. If you'd like to ask the Cyanotic devs a question, you can click on the Google Forms link in the video description. You won't need a Discord account to do it, although I'll also be posting the same link on the SkyTemple Discord server as well. That's all for now for the SkyTemple Podcast, so until next time, let the music play. Oh, that's terrible. I gotta think of a better outro than that.